Now, if it didn't come from a bioweapons program or if it didn't come from their lab, it still came from their decision-making. Their decision-making to hide this and to lie to everybody about it. We have numerous studies out there led by Southampton University in England that says 95% of the deaths, 95% of the destruction, starting with the innocent Chinese people, would have all been avoided if these devils had just done what any responsible government or any responsible human beings would have done. And that is tell the world we have a problem and we seek your help to solve it. They didn't do that. They covered it up and they lied about it. And then they exacerbated it. They made sure that innocent Chinese people flew all over the world when they didn't let them know that, hey, we should restrict travel. They vacuumed up the PPE to make sure that they would be even harder in places like Italy, that the gating event was going to be protective equipment for people who both test for the virus and those who care in the ICU units. What they've done is incomprehensible to decent people. And here's why. They're not decent. The leadership of the Chinese Communist Party are among the worst dictators in history. It's time we stop playing games. You know, Secretary of State Pompeo was on TV, I think it was last week in the Bill Hemmer interview, and he was talking about, people are starting to negotiate or they're starting to call for the CCP to release all the information, all the data about the origins of this virus. It's time to stop asking. We're not a supplicant, and the American people in this great republic cannot be supplicants, cannot be a tributary state to an evil dictatorship like this. It's time to demand. It's time to demand on the behalf of the Chinese people. It's time to demand for the American people. And most importantly, it's to demand for humankind, for mankind. This is outrageous what they've done. It's outrageous how they're trying to change the conversation today. Their behavior is beyond reproach. And so an action step to me that has to happen immediately should be that the President of the United States demand, give them 72 hours. 72 hours. You open up to an international consortium, and the World Health Organization will be part of that, but they can't lead it. It's got to be led by the best scientists in Hong Kong, Taiwan, Japan, India, Europe, Canada, the United States, Africa, Latin America, the finest virologists, the finest epidemiologists in the world have to have full access to Wuhan, have to have full access to all the P3 labs. Without a question, 72 hours. If you do not do this in 72 hours, if you are not prepared to have the flights come in and have us have full access to every technician, every doctor, to look at every gain of function experiment, to go through every lab, to look at every specimen, and to look at the genetic code of everything that was done. If you're not prepared to do that, they should be immediately in Hong Kong cut off. We should break the convertibility of the Hong Kong dollar, cut off the regime's access to the U.S. dollar, then sanction their 5 largest financial institutions: Hong Kong Shanghai Bank, Bank of China, CITIC, Penang Group Financial, and others. And also start to sanction the senior leadership, not the mid-level people in Hong Kong. Go right to the top because of their lying about this virus. Go right to the top. And when I say the top, I mean Wang Qishan, President Xi, and the rest of his henchmen. And then, besides sanctioning them, start to seize their assets in the United States and in the United Kingdom. These people are, but you think they dwarf in wealth the people in Kuwait and Bahrain, UAE, and Saudi Arabia. The Gulf Emirates are nothing compared to the families that control the Chinese Communist Party. Their assets should be seized immediately in places like New York City and London. This is the only thing they understand is smash mouth. This is what they've done to the West. This is what they've done to the United States. Much of the conversation we're having right now is all marginalia. It's not getting to the heart of the problem. Part of getting to the heart of the problem is what you saw FBI Director Wray, Attorney General Barr, National Security Advisor O'Brien, and the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo as they're laying out the action steps of a fully integrated, essentially war plan against the Chinese Communist Party for technology, an information war, and economic war. And you've seen Secretary Esper and the Joint Chiefs of Staff with the carrier battle groups now in the South China Sea and the Straits of Taiwan, other military actions. You've seen our allies in the United Kingdom talk about forward deploying Her Majesty's ship, Queen Elizabeth, this new brilliant aircraft carrier and a carrier battle group to Singapore or the South China Sea. You've seen Australia. You've seen Japan. Japan's talking about 30 submarines to add to this alliance. You see on Chinese-occupied Tibet, where the Indian army under the leadership of President Modi is leading India to not back down to the Chinese Communist Party. Throughout the world, this is happening. But now it's time to face facts on this pandemic. They caused it. Okay? Democrats didn't cause it. Republicans didn't cause it. The Chinese Communist Party caused it. And now it's time to hold them accountable. Every day that goes by is just another day that they think they've got a victory. And if you think this is the last we're going to see of this, you're kidding themselves. They're sitting there and they're laughing at us right now. They're laughing at us. They think they have us on our back foot. They think they have us where we're at each other's throats. It's time to put that all aside and focus on the enemy. Remember, how we handle this pandemic is the other side of the coin of what Barr and Mike Pompeo are doing. And it's time for us to focus on the enemy of the Chinese people, the enemy of the American people. The enemy of mankind is the senior leadership of the Chinese Communist Party and what the Chinese Communist Party represents and what it does in China throughout the world. It's time for us to now take that on.